Hey, everybody, welcome back to Gardens, the Untold Story. And the invisible gardener's beside, other finger is beside me here trying to stay invisible. I'm your host, Ken Somerville, my co host, the invisible gardener, Andy Lopez.
Look at my head, it's disappearing. Hey,
Well,
everybody.
we were talking earlier, Andy, and I'm sitting there and you get these sparkles like you're being teleported, up by the
Yeah,
Enterprise.
yeah,
Okay.
I'm still doing that. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I should mellow down my energy a little bit. Good
Well,
morning,
I don't
Philly.
know.
Hi, everybody. Who's this? This howdy all. Cheers. There's go thread.
Goat Head Gardens. And actually, Goat Head, I really appreciate you, brother. You're one of our defenders of the biology. You're helping to support the channel and bring more education for people. So go ahead. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for being there. So today, I'm going to talk about structured water. Now, I've thought about this for about 2 seconds. But see, there's two ways to really do this. I can say, dudes, this is the way everybody sees structured water. You can look up structured water. It tells you what's going on with structured water, why it's called structured water, and what it does. In nature, there's structured water. Okay, so, but for us humans, all I can say is you have to look up what structured water is, because it's different things to many different people, but essentially it's a way that water is energized and the molecules are aligned in a certain way. Okay, that's what structured water is. Mankind is very good at unstructuring water. They have water that's unstructured, right? Anytime you have a 90-degree angle and water flows, you're unstructured. Or anytime you're doing the weirdest thing you don't find in nature, you're unstructured, right? And I often say, why don't they have pipes to do this thing, right? The swirl, why don't they have it more flowing? And it does, it's unstructured. So unstructured water, and we talk a lot about water filter. It's unstructured. You put chemicals in that, you don't have the structured flow in it. You don't have a structured water anymore. Fourth phase. Yeah, I was telling Ken that I can do fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth phase today of water.
Well, yeah, but that's because you do things really differently. Okay? The rest of us are still on the fourth and fifth phase. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, what I want to do is I want to give you a brief flow through things, because I wanted to take 2 hours today, because that would be nothing. 2 hours would be just scratching the surface of what I would like to say to you. So I'm just going to go through things real fast. So basically, there are things that we know we can see, like the earth, the sun, and the stars. And we don't really see energy, but we can feel it in lots of different ways. It burn you, it's hot, it's sunshine. So there's visible and invisible things, okay? Gravity. So people say there's no gravity. What is it? Structured water, also called hydrogravity. Oh, silly, there she is. Yay, silly!
And if you guys want to read about this, we've had Gerald Pollock on our show, and he's the gentleman that wrote the book, The Fourth Phase of Water, and he had a new book out last year. You may want to check that out. Hopefully one of these days we'll be able to get him back on on the channel as well. But so it's an amazing thing, guys.
So I in my travels, I get to encounter some really cool people. So in the early 70s, because I used to go to Fayetteville, Arkansas, fly plane in there, and they had an organic conference on it every year. And that organic conference has a lot to do with nature on one hand, not to use the chemicals. They brought good old boy farmers in. We had a farmer talk about dowsing, radionics, all these cool things that you can do in gardening and stuff, electrical gardening. And so, and of course, structured water is one of them things that we always talk about, because and so one of them was a scientist, Phil Callahan. I remember him because he wrote several books, and I read all of his books. One is called Tuning into Nature, and there's a few other ones. There are a few other books. Lily could look him up. Phil Callahan, Lily, and you'll see that. So in tuning, he talks about structured water, but he also talks about how the water gets structured and what it is that actually does the structuring. So Tuning into Nature is a very cool book, because he went to Ireland, and as a scientist, he wants to study. There's these things called towers of power. Towers is like a tower power. All spread out throughout Ireland and England and all that countryside over there. There's these giant towers that go up 30, 40 feet with a top on, little top. And there's a door all the way up there at the top. And it was speculated that so then when the Vikings came and the bad guys came, they would throw a ladder up there, get up there and bring the ladder up and nobody could get it. But that was like a wild guess and that wasn't even accurate. So Phil figured out what it was because, and we fly over it, what gave it away was there's a tower of power, but what you see first is an area of green, lush. You see everything's desert or whatever, and that spot is like super green. And I go, what is going on there, right? So you can see the effects, and that was the tower that radiated out in the area the energy that it collected, right? So anyway, so when he landed, he would go to these places. What is it with this tower? What is it with this tower? Hey, mate, we don't know. We've been here for 100 years. It was already here when we got here, And yeah, the cattle, everything grows. The food, we live. Our house is like next to it, and that is an accumulator because the energy flows through. But what it does, it structures the water. We are what percentage are we of water, right? Our body is a certain percentage of water. I don't know.
Well, over 90%. Every cell inside of you has so much water. Like I think it's a protozoa, which is a single-celled organism. It's either 33 or 333 billion molecules of water in that single cell.
So when we talk about structured water, we also have to include ourselves. Yeah. The water in our bodies, same thing with the water in trees, water in insects, everything alive has water in it, one thing or another, right? And that structured water, it's really very, very amazing what it does. And I only learned it from experience when I read Phil Callahan, and I met him. I was a speaker, and he was going to speak up afterwards, but he was in the audience when I was talking. I was in the audience when he was talking. We talked about these things. Because I get carried away when I do things because I'm like a scientist. I see all these things going on without even having to experiment. Yet he's a scientist. He actually does it. And I read so much about all these things that have been going on throughout the world, from the pyramids to you name it, all around the world. And all it has to do with how it's an image of the energy. And that energy also structures the water. Mm-hmm. But I always found it fascinating. So I was reading about. So in Germany, I forget the guy's name. It's not maybe it's a famous name, but I forgot it now. So in Germany, they did a lumber, where they go out and cut trees down, right? And they have these rivers. They have these rivers that flow, and their idea was they throw the logs on and they would go down, right? Mm-hmm. So a problem they would have is that the logs would drop below water and will clog up the thing, would not be flowing. So he wanted the logs to be on top, flowing, and he could do a lot more. And he was a scientist, so he figured out in nature, because he actually invented a like a little flying saucer. But what it did was it swirled the water. It swirled the water, and he could at times it's a different frequency. That means a different rotational rate. And he would look under. We talked about the image of water. The guy did the electron microscope. Well, that's what this guy would do. He would look at the image of water and go, "This looks like unstructured. It would be really a mess." But look at this water and look how well, because you can see the actual structure of it. Because the structure has a lot to do with the biology. But the biology, they all line up. They all line up. And when you do that, it harmonizes with one of the reasons why Mother Nature does structured water is because it has developed a way to transfer that magical energy that the minerals absorb when the cosmic rays come through there to us.
Yeah.
See, right? So it's in the water, and the water has these. So the structured water will absorb calcium, mercury, iron, everything that we need in a way that when we drink it, or a lawn or a tree or a bird, anything gets into their body, it does the same thing to our bodies.
And somebody's asking us to say hi. So hi, Sky.
Hi, Sky. Please send us $375.50, please. That's the minimum amount I take now.
So Mother Nature, she structures her water in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
You know, through rain,
Yeah. Right.
and when that that drop
Lightning.
of water
Yeah.
hits the ground and it shatters,
Yeah.
you know, that's actually helping to energize, to structure the water
Yeah.
in a creek, etc.
Yeah.
Every time those water molecules
Yeah.
are broken apart,
Yeah.
it helps to energize that water, guys.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I used to do it. I had a funnel and I threw in a bunch of marbles.
Yeah.
And I would pour the water over the marbles.
Yeah.
And you do that a couple of times,
Change the water.
and you drink that water.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can taste the bloody difference.
And what's cool is that, see, and the marbles are round, and so it makes a difference what you put there. So I started doing that with emeralds and diamonds and rubies, but I didn't flow the water through it because I didn't have to do that. That's what, like I said, there's many different ways to structure water. When I make gem elixir, I structured water through a resonance. There's different. So when you think of a ruby, you automatically see a ruby in your brain, right? You see a ruby, right? That's all you got to do. And you have to say, I want to take that ruby and put it in that water. And if your brain acknowledges that ruby, putting it in that water, it's an intent. It's called intent. I am going to take this energy of this ruby and put it in this water. And if you learn that the water is receptive, like a hard drive, you can write to. You see what I mean? And you can actually write that. I can take the song you liked when we play our music, right? It has a frequency in it. That frequency goes into the water. The water will, you can write that frequency, that song to the water, and whoever drinks that water or even carries that water will get the same frequency. The plants, whatever.
Okay, well, I want to look at Lucas's comment here. Ever drink moon water?
Yeah.
Put it out on a full moon. We swear that it's the best water we ever drink.
Exactly right.
So cosmic energy structure the water.
Exactly right, Lucas. So when I do gem elixirs and energetic energy, there's certain times that I would take these crystals that I create, or when I buy a new crystal, for example. Right, I want to erase all the junk that's been getting written to it throughout his lifetime.
Stop right there. Stop right there, because I want to point out what you just said, Andy.
When you
get a new crystal, you erase the energy that's already there, because you don't know who's handled that crystal and put in their energy into that.
They all do. They all do.
You want to erase the crystal before you use it. Put in positive energy.
Right. It's not a conscious. It's not like I'm going to put this in it. So all they have to do is see it, and the energy transfers right to that crystal. So many times when I would buy a crystal, I would see it so full of all these different things. I would go, whoa. So you have to clean it. Lots of different ways to clean it. One of the ways to completely erase it, you put it out at night under the full moon. And the different moon cycles, you'll learn the different energy. They produce different results. So when you put it under a full moon, it will totally erase that crystal or that gem, even gems, emerald, diamonds, rubies, you name it. It will erase it. But at the same token, then you could also put it under the sun, which will give it the sun's energy, right?
Yeah.
So you're charging it up with, I like using the sun energy because that's the one where everything's used to getting, right? We get all that sun and the moon energy. Those are very good to use. So you don't have to create another mystery energy, just use those. And then when the sun has been cleaned and they have solar energy on it, that's the time that I would say, okay, I'm going to use it for this purpose. Or gardening, for example, because you can actually use this to have energize your garden with it. Lots of different crystals and gems are meant for the earth. That's one reason why people bury their crystals in the garden and around, right, to energize their total environment of it. So I've learned that we're a conscious being. Our consciousness can literally write to that water, right to that energy. It's like the universe says, we're giving you a tool that you can just not only see it, but you can write to it and read it. That's right. Nikola Tesla says the same thing. He and I were buddies. We talk a lot about things.
I want to point this out. Lucas is asking this question. Would rock dust work the same way? Maybe a little less effective?
You have to look at it completely different. If you look under a microscope, you can see lots of little crystals. Lots of different things are in rock dust. It's just not just a plain rock. It could have diamond, emeralds, rubies in there too, but in microscopic form, you'll never see them unless you really look. So that's what rock dust is all about. Mother Nature has this whole blend of things in there. You'd be surprised how many things you can find that you can separate. You say, look at this carbon, there's mercury, everything in that rock dust that you want, especially if it's the right type of rock dust. Some rock dust have deficient.
Andy, when we were talking about clearing the energy on the crystals, can we do the same thing and energize the rock dust that we're using? You know, that we're putting that little bit in our compost piles for the biology to break down so it's usable.
You read my mind. Exactly right. So
there you go.
All of it is energy. All of this has all these diamonds and emeralds. You would never think of having these things in your rock dust, but literally it's in there. But it's also 96 trace minerals. Ideally, you want that in there, but sometimes you have to get a couple of different rock dusts which are deficient in one, but you blend together. And that's what. So if you develop your eyesight where you can see these, because you don't have to see the little mineral, you can just see the energy of it. You see what I mean? You don't have to see the little crystal, that little rock. You can see the frequency that it puts out. So if you can actually learn how to read the frequency of the rock dust. A lot of people do that unconsciously. I want to get this blend and that blend and put this blend together. People say, "Oh, I have different frequencies." See, right? That when you blow them together, you go, "Oh, that's the right one." And of course, that's one of the reasons why it works, because it transfers the particular frequency of that mineral to the plants or to the soil. You see what I mean, right? Because normally what happens, if human beings are not around, that rock dust will get the energy from everything, right? It'll be bombarded with the energy. Nobody around to screw with it, right? Hello? Yeah. Right.
I'm reading comments and
over here.
there's a conversation going on in the chat, guys. So if you guys are, check your chat and make sure you're on live chat instead of top chat. But it was they were talking about that moon water.
Yeah.
And if you need, you want to put your water in glass containers. Yes.
Yeah. No plastic
on it.
No plastic. Exactly right. And you can learn to drink that. And that's actually, rather than just the water itself, you can actually put a crystal in there. If you're like me, I would put a crystal in there and let the moon water, the moon energy energize the water with that crystal too. And you'll be surprised. As a matter of fact, you can take that and give it to plants. My dogs would love it because they know, hey, that feels good. Let's take that. See what I mean? And you learn that different, like quartz crystals have a certain frequency. They're good for certain things, but for people, they're really, really good. I like quartz crystals in my water, and especially that the moon, especially the full moon. For me, I am Aries rising at Pisces moon, so I like Pisces full moon, which we just have. Whenever we have a Pisces full moon, my crystals go out there. I can't take them all out because it's like too weird, but I do have a whole bunch of them that they're definitely the main core of my crystals. Of the crystals that I have some that I'll never give away. They will always be with me because they protect me.
Yeah. Now here's a good question, and this is somebody that's new to the channel. We haven't seen this name before, but would it help to put some crystals in the compost, Andy?
As I said, the crystals are already in the rock dust.
Okay.
The crystals are already in the rock dust, but in such a tiny form you don't see it. So you don't have to get a big crystal, put it in their compost. You just have to get the rock dust, because the rock dust has, and there are different varieties, and if you study them, you eventually can figure out what crystals are in it, because they come from different parts of the world, right? So if this comes from this parts of the world, and you know that crystals are from there, then it's going to be in your rock dust. See, but they're tiny little bit.
I've seen a lot of people put crystals in their grows, especially the indoor grows. A lot of our viewers are growing cannabis for their own medicine. And yes, I've seen a lot of people do this, put crystals in their cannabis grow to have better and healthier plants. And it's that universal energy, like Andy's saying, it's drawn in, it's held in the crystal, and it's released, that positive energy. Because if you are using that crystal, then you're putting in that positive energy into that crystal and putting it into your grow. Yeah, you're going to see positive results.
That's the key to it. When you say you're putting in the positive energy, because if you just get a crystal from the store and flop it in there, I don't think that's going to work so well. But if you get the crystal from the store and you go, wow, this is a beautiful crystal, I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to give it positive energy, whatever way you want to do it. And then I'm going to put it over the plant. The plant's going to go, thank you. because it's going to get that. You see,
Yes.
you always have to clean it first and then energize it and then use it, because these things they receive whatever's around them. So you have some evil guy killing people, you're going to have this really weird energy, right? You go, right? Yeah. So you always want to, unless you're the, well, sometimes you go digging, you pull it out of the earth. There it is, raw for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to clean it. You don't have to do anything, because Mother Earth has been doing it for thousands of years already. It's already there, right? It's been well cooked. Right.
So and we've talked about structuring our water, so because we're supposed to be talking about structured water.
We're talking about structured water.
Yeah. So if you're doing that, your positive energy into the crystals. So I was using marbles, glass marbles, not plastic one, glass one.
Yeah.
So I put the positive energy into those marbles or into a crystal, and I run my water through it. That's even that much better, because you're putting in it intentionally, like Andy said, using your intention. That's even better. That's the next level of doing these things.
So when you go, one of the things the reason why I was a rock hound, I still am. I would love to go, but I haven't been out. I used to have a little pick, and I know how to do dowsing, so I can tell. They say, well, you have to pay $100. You get to roam this whole countryside and get what you find. But so one of the things I learned is that when I was pulling crystals out, there are crystals embedded in all this sand, and all of it's got little crystals. You look at it, it's tiny little crystals. The very same thing that we have the crystals of. So you don't really have to get a crystal and then put it in your compost. You have to find. I'm sure they have crystals that. What I would do is go to a rock shop and say, where do these crystals come from, right? So some of them are local, and that's where I would go. I would go there and get the sand that you find the crystal. That's right, rock hound. You know that, so you go there. These are rock, and they're surrounded with all these little crystals, and then you get that sand. You can use that and put it in your compost. But remember, you're gonna have to do it a lot, because it's gonna disappear once you make the compost and it's gone. I prefer to have a rock that you keep. Maybe making it such a device that it's constantly in there, but you can take it out before you use it, because otherwise it's gone, unless you want to bury it in the ground.
Well, Andy, like a lot of people, like I myself, when I was doing compost, I used pallets, and I made a 4x4 with the pallets. So if I attach the crystals to the pallet, so they're not actually in the compost, they're surrounding it, would that work as well, my friend?
Sure, as long as you have a way to not throw it away when you're using it. It's better to keep them there, and then they become. The more you use it, the more you get tuned into what works, because you always have to consciously have a connection to those stones. You just can't put them there and forget about them. You have to put them there and constantly communicate with them, constantly make sure that they're being acknowledged, and then you constantly channel. What I do is I would say, okay, you guys are here to help the soil biology or help the plants to grow. A lot of times you can put a crystal right underneath a plant or a tree. Hi, tree. Meet Julie, the crystal. Hey, crystal, say hi, right? And they will communicate. And not only that, but they communicate in the whole area. That's one of the things that's interesting about using these things. I have a group of people in it's north of Washington. Oregon. Oregon's in there somewhere, right? Oregon's in there somewhere. And they live in a forest, and they make these. One of the things I end up helping them with, because they wanted to make fairy houses, little houses with fairies in it to put in the forest and sell them to kids. And so I said, well, why don't you make them out of these crystals, out of these stones? Because you can find them wherever you can go to. All you have to do is contact any places that sell stones online, and you say, well, where do you get quarries? You talk to the quarries. I want 10 pounds of this stuff, and you're going to get it. You look at it, a little microscope, you'll see it's just full of these little crystals, and they make their little fairy house out of this stuff, and it radically changes the environment that you put it in. Because when I was young, I tell part of my business, I wouldn't put a little fairy house on your tree here. And they go, no, you ain't going to do nothing like that, because you can't explain it to them unless they're into it. But it definitely affects the environment, because it becomes a collection rod energy will flow through the earth, hit those crystals, and spit it out.
Well, and that's what Rick is saying here. I
Yeah.
use some crystals or quartz crystal sand
Yeah.
in an electrocultural
There you go.
antenna,
Yeah.
and the voltage went up. So
That's
that's
exactly
just
right.
showing.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Quartz crystal sand. That's what I'm talking about. You don't have to get a big, just get the quartz crystal sand. Thank you, man. That's what I'm trying to get across. Quartz crystal sand. Because you have that. It's just tiny little quartz crystal. You can make it in any shape you want to. The shape sometimes is very interesting. You can do that, but you can make it, you can put, like I said, these people were making little houses out of them, right? The doors and that made the energy, once it hits it, it creates an electric field, electricity that flows down into the plants. All these root systems are basically wires, right? Right? And so it conducts it all the way to it, and it works both ways. See, it's just not one way. The energy is like breathing. In the earth, the energy goes up, and the energy goes back down into the earth. When it comes back up, it's really cool. When it goes down the earth, it's death and dying, and then it changes back to life, right? And so that is a big part of structured water. See, that's why it works. These things work because it changes the structure of the water. If you don't have any water, your plants are going to die. But if you have water, you still have to have the right water, right? When we talk about city water, it's so bad and what's so cool about this too is that it could literally remove the chemicals in the city water.
Well, I don't know. I haven't seen any experiments on that, but it'd be very interesting to read some white papers. You have?
Yeah, I have, where they actually have. It's like a zapper. A zapper was invented by Hilda Clark, and she was a study of royal rife. I studied them both. Basically, it's a way to conduct energy from plants and crystals and all that stuff to channel it into your body, sap your body, right, with it.
Okay.
Right. That's basically it in a nutshell. You sap your body with it, but you can also attach it to a grounding device and sap the earth with it. But by sapping, you're bringing in, you're actually writing the water. That's what the main thing you're really doing is you're structuring the water. So if you can, and that's what happens when you have chemicals in it. It unstructures the water, so the chemicals, just everything's all over the place. But when you structure it, the chemicals have nothing to hang on to, and they literally just I don't know if it's evaporate or return.
Volatilize.
Yeah, they turn this into some other non-toxic form, right? And then you have the pure water. That's why lots of people have learned throughout the centuries that they can filter their water if they know how to structure it with the.
Well, have you ever seen the device, Andy, for inside of your water pipes where the water, goes, back and forth and breaks it apart? I can't remember the name of the company, but I saw it several years ago where you could buy this piece that went into your water pipe. Now, guys, just to let you know, this is for copper. If you're using plastic, the PVC piping, it's not the same. You're actually getting microplastics from that. But if you're using copper, the metal, you can put one of these devices in, and it'll help to structure and purify your water.
Also, I think we talked about this before. It's called OLA, OLLAS. It's an ancient device of watering, but the real secret behind it is the ancient device of allowing water to be structured, because clay is paramagnetic. There are lots of things in nature that are paramagnetic. And the very process of being paramagnetic, it structures the water.
There you go.
See, that's the main thing. So, and a copper is not exactly paramagnetic, but it's highly, what is it? When you can, it carries really well. It transmits. What is it called when it's a good conductor?
Okay, a good conductor. Yeah,
a good conductor, right? So it'll conduct the energy that we have want to transmit, because copper, gold, some of these things that's what they do. They're conductors. That's why we have gold in our body, because gold is the conductor of our energy, our thoughts, and the energy that our body's not like, it's not one big wire connected. It's
Have
wires
you
that
seen
are connected. Olas.
the Olus rule?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so
Olas.
I've never heard of that, so I wasn't sure.
I thought we had talked about it before, because I think you brought it up. You went and looked it up. I remember you. I remember that. You went to the internet and you pulled it up, and I was at Ola. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most, I'm doing a whole series on Olas, and of course I'll be happy to do even more here, because I have taken, as usual, one step further, because I'm sure the ancient people did not, they didn't have, first of all, they didn't have city water to worry about, right?
Yes.
Right, right. So they didn't have to add anything into it. So that it's it's an amazing way to conserve water, and the paramagnetism structures the water. So anything you put in there will be a billion times more beneficial. So what I do is I put biology in there. That's what I was doing today. We opened the top of the Ola, and I made 4 or 5 different mixtures, which we can put in there using wheat flour, which lasts longer. Wheat flour, organic wheat flour, has a certain biology, right? That's what we're doing. We're using the biology of these things. I was using rice flour. And I was telling people, when you have rice, you cook it, you clean it, you wash it. That's the water you throw away. Well, that's what we're using. But I'm just using the whole rice in there. I don't really have to cook it, because what I'm doing is I'm fermenting. So what I do is I add rice flour, wheat flour. Now the rice is available right away. That lacto, whatever it is as true as goes. The wheat flour takes a little longer to break down. We had corn flour. Corn takes even longer to break down for the biology to break it down. And then we added one of the ladies there made a mixture from sugarcane pieces, which were fermented.
Okay.
So it was similar to a bukkake kind of thing, where you ferment things. So she fermented and added a little bit of this vinegar that we use. Remember when Michael came on, she talked about the vinegar that he makes.
Wood vinegar.
The wood vinegar, right? So that is a fermented product. So we use that, but you can also use white vinegar. There are lots of different fermentation processes. So anyway, we made a fermentation product, and then when I go, I bring my magical, incredibly amazing liquid, which I get from the worms, and I add my own things to it, and I have a way of producing this biology that's a blend of, and you put that in there. And then I'm showing them how to have there's a drill you can take. You can drill the clay, because if I tried it just broke it. There's a special clay porcelain drill that you can. So what I do is I drill a little hole on the side of it, run a drip system to it, 1 gallon per head in there. The key to it is you cannot hook it into your water system if you have city water that's killing it. You have to have filtered water, because if you don't have filtered water, you just forget about drilling the drip into there. You set the top off and you put your liquids in there. But by putting the liquids in there, I think I'll take a picture of it, because there's one that I've been using for about a month.
Please, because I'm not sure if I'm understanding what the heck you're drilling. You're drilling a crystal.
It's a clay pipe. It's a clay.
Okay.
Hey Lily, could you show us a picture of the Ola, please? Thank you. I love it when you do that. That's great. I need more people in the background, right? It's basically clay, and the clay. That's why I'm saying the clay is paramagnetic, and so the clay, because it's paramagnetic, the biology, the microbes stick themselves right to it, because this is how they're going to get that establishes a flow of trace minerals. And you have this white. You know how mycelium looks like? Well, it'll cover the whole vessel, inside and outside, will be covered with this white mycelium. And what it does, it promotes the mycelium going out. The mycelium will go out and connect with the roots, and the roots will go. They're literally, if you leave them alone, they'll wrap around the Ola. But you'll see the roots and the mycelium sort of, and when they intermesh like that, anything you put in that Ola will get transmitted. There it is. See, it will get transmitted to the tree through the root system. And those are Olas. They're different. There are different sizes. I use that really big one in the middle there for trees. The smaller ones, you can use them for container plants. These are clay pipes. And
So you're saying you're putting a tiny hole through the Ola to promote the water coming out faster?
No, sir. I put a tiny hole in it. If you have a drip system, if you have a water filter for your whole property and you have a drip, you can drill a little hole in there for the drip line, tiny little drip line to work into the Ola and put a 1 gallon per hour head in there. So it'll drip inside the Ola. You see, right?
Okay, so that's instead of having to go and fill the Ola by hand, you're using a drip system to keep the Ola full.
Right. And what you have to do, and what you manually have to do, like, for example, I'm lucky enough to have the Lason's compost. I take Lason's compost, I put some in the bottom of the Ola, right? And the liquid that I add to it is my liquid, or the liquid that we make using the flour and the rice and the wheat. And so we have this highly biological, highly mineralized liquid in the Ola, which seeps out.
Yes.
It seeps through the clay, and the clay being magnetic changes the whole water, because the water that hopefully you have filtered water, but it's not structured, it's just filtered. See, right? It changes the structure. Go ahead.
I want to point something that Rick put out here. EM1 makes a ceramic from clay infused with their microbes before firing.
I don't know if that's because when you infuse it, when you fire, you kill the microbes. I'm just saying. That means you put it in the heat, and so it's defeating the purpose of having the microbes, because they're not alive anymore. They may do something to the clay, but my guess would be there's nobody there if you get fired, right? I mean, they heat it up right? So I don't understand that. It may sound good, but it doesn't sound good to me. I want to have it alive. I just want it Ola without being fired. That's the whole thing. If you fire the Ola up, it doesn't work, because it's
I know that when we're making the biochar, I know people were using the water. They were using EM1 in the water when they were dousing the biochar hunks, and it was helping to put the different things into the biochar. So I think maybe might be something they would be doing with the clay, the crystallization.
I don't see how you're going to add living things to something that's burning and expect that living thing to survive. I'm just saying.
Well, as it's cooling off, you would.
As it's cooling off. Yeah, exactly right. When it's cooling off, it's not going to kill it. Then you can throw all the biology onto you want to, because they will survive and it will bond together because of the carbon content and all that. Yeah. But if it's like no. Okay, next. I'm sorry, I just was just saying. But the thing is, when you buy these Olas, they're not fired.
Yeah.
See,
and you're talking about the paramagnetic field, and I know you've talked also about putting magnets around your spray hose as well to actually help add energy and structure.
Right. So Mother Nature uses magnetism to structure water. Like you said, there are many different ways to structure water. Lightning will structure water. Certain frequencies will structure water. Magnetism. We're surrounded with magnetism. It structures the water. See, so it doesn't hurt. So when I have a filter in I don't have a whole property filtration system. I have one of those little filters, right? Like that, right? So I take it with me. So I'm filtering the water up, but it's not structured. The magnets structure the water. And I bubbled my biology in there. So when it's coming out, it's structured water with the biology, alive biology. The spraying rig I have is meant to spray compost. That means compost tea. That means it's big enough to allow biology through without killing them. There's two different kinds of pumps in a sprayer. It's a metal thing that grinds everything together, it kills everything. It's two balls and rolls around it and causes the pressure. Or there's a diaphragm. So the diaphragm doesn't kill the biology; it just moves the water along. That's what I have. It's a compost tea sprayer, and I have a bigger nozzle and to allow the biology through. Otherwise, it just doesn't work. And that's what the magnets does. So I also have magnets here. So this is my water bottle, and guess what is in here?
Magnets.
And this is copper.
Okay.
So they have these magnets in here. Oh, look at that. The coin, this is the magnetic, this is the coin that gets attached to the magnet.
There you go. And guys, why did the Romans walk around with silver coins in their mouths? Okay, and use silver coins in their milk containers. It's all about that magnetism. It's all about purification. This silver, that's where they used to talk about silver spoons. Children was born with a silver spoon in their mouth were always healthier, didn't have the diseases, etc. A couple of donut magnets. There you go.
Yeah,
right?
These are round magnets, but donut magnets are cool because you can run the water through it. So if you have magnets that are round, you want the water through it. These are very powerful little ball magnets that what I do, because I also have them under my pillow, and I tell you, it makes a big difference. When I hold it in my hand, and I have one in each hand, I can feel the energy, my electromagnetic system, just because our body is constantly bombarded with energy that's not conducive to our energy field. These lights, they're LED lights, but they're not as bad as because this whole house is solar powered. So when you're in a house that's not solar powered, you're going to get bombarded with these electromagnetic field that's just going to kill you sooner or later because it shrinks your. And if your electromagnetic field isn't working right, you're just going to get sick and die.
We don't want to die.
That's just the way it works. See, and so in reality, you can literally heal people by going into a room that gets and you buy. That was my idea when I'm getting older. I figured my second half of my life, what I want to do is develop a room that you come in, a computer reads you because it knows what your frequency should be when you're healthy, and then it says, okay, you're missing this color, you're missing this frequency, and we're going to give it to you. You lay down in a magnetic bed. You're surrounded with an electromagnetic field. You're bombarded with the color. Your body soaks it right up. You have to do it regularly because what happens as soon as you walk away, you get back to the forces that caused it to happen in the first place, right?
Yeah.
So your cars, your TV, all these things, a phone. So the phone is so bad on your electromagnetic field. So I don't have it with me. My phone has a lead shield around it.
The phone
has a lead shield around it to prevent it from being bombarded by these Wi-Fi. This 5G is actually a military development. The 6G, the military is using the 6G now.
Well, you're talking like I don't know if you've seen online the med pads.
Yeah, right.
You're kind of talking about that in
that's right.
What flashes in my head is on SG1.
Yeah,
they had the transporter. They had those rings come down before they got transported up. That's what flashed in my mind when you said that.
So all we have to do is develop an AI that understands how the system works. You tell the AI, look, there's the frequency. It's easy. For example, you give the AI a picture. This is the way the person looks like when he's healthy. So what he sees is the electromagnetic fields in the camera and the picture. And this is how the person looks now. He can literally change that person by changing the frequency that matches that one. That's what radiology is all about. But you sit down in a place where then you get bombarded with what's missing. Your body's going to absorb it. The problem is like you really need to leave there all your life, right? In order to continue that. Because as soon as you leave that environment, you get back to what causing it. Because, lots of things are constantly anti-electromagnetic fields, right? And we don't walk barefoot. You know what grounding is? So we don't walk barefooted because we're not grounded, and therefore, we are cut off. We're cut off. This is one of the first times, if all animals. I don't know any animals wearing shoes. Do you?
And especially not rubber ones. Although horses wear shoes, but they're generally you're made of a metal,
Yeah, so, they put that little thing on there, put their hoop and everything. They're still grounded, And actually, in truth, before people came around, they didn't do that to the horses.
Yeah,
I
don't know how long that they've been doing the shoeing.
Right, I know that they
don't shoe an elephant. Or
have you ever seen the Indians shoeing horses?
No.
Right. So you'll know automatically they weren't shoeing horses. Right. So it goes back a long ways. Even I think we have an innate ability to go against nature. Simple as that. Hey, let's invent this. Oh, Mother Nature has never done that before. Let's just do that. And there happens to be a reason why she doesn't do all this stuff, because these are not good for us. So it goes. Yeah. So the bottom line is that structured water is everywhere in nature. The wind, the sun, electricity, weather, thunder, birds chirping. Birds chirping have a certain frequency of structured water. In Japan, they call it forest bathing. Forest bathing. The trees structured water, because the trees are themselves, if they're grounded and they're working properly. You ever wonder so when I was young, I was a tree hugger. I got a picture of me hugging trees. Right. And
I was seeing something the other day. A guy was going out, and I think it was 90 days or something. You go out and you hug the trees, and Lily was watching it. She could explain it better, but that positive energy that comes back from the trees is totally amazing.
They said I was crazy. And I go, yeah, I'm crazy.
Oh, you are crazy, Andy. Okay, crazy. You are crazy.
And that's exactly what I did. I would hug the tree, and all of a sudden I would get all that energy that the tree was putting into the ground through me. I would let it flow through me, and I would go, oh, wow, this is so cool. And one of the things in Japan, they have all these really cool things. But one of them, it's called, bathing, forest bathing. And all you have to do is you walk through a forest, take off your shoes, find a place to sit down, and just become part of that forest and allow all the energy to flow through.
Trees are energy powers.
Exactly right. Exactly right, Tilly. Exactly right. And that's why this whole Tower of Power thing was really cool, because they learn how to conduct it. When in reality, a tree will do that. We can do that. We can stand in a field and just become especially me, because I'm really tall, but it could be tiny people. It could be tiny people. Everything transmits. Even a tiny little ant transmits. If it receives, it transmits.
I do want to point something out to people. If you're going to go standing out in the middle of a flat field with, don't do it in a thunder and lightning storm.
Oh, come on. That's the best time.
Just saying. That's
the best time. I love standing there and the electricity, and you go, oh, and you have that smoke coming out of here. Whoa, that was great. I have done that, man. Seriously.
Hold on. I got to throw this up here. And Rick, Dr. Yamamoto, and he's gone now, but he does have, I think it was one of his graduate students is carrying on that research where they were freezing the water, throwing it under the electron microscope to see the different patterns and positive energy, negative energy. So that it's Dr. Yamamoto.
Yeah, he would look at, say in Japan, he would go travel around Japan, all the different lakes there. So he would look under the microscope, it's the electron microscope, he would look at it. This is the way it looks. So he had volunteers standing around the lake, holding hands, and they all chanted a particular thing. They went several things. One was like love, kindness, and the other was I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. And you will see the structures literally change. And then he started going, okay, so how about if I just take the name of something, put it in a glass of water, right? Look at the water before the name, put the name love on and it changes it. Put the name hate and it changes. Just because the actual written of the name is actually a way to transmit energy as well. Because the name, just writing down love, you get the frequency of love, see, and it transmitted. We get it because that name is being transmitted and the water is picking it up. See, right?
Yeah. Well, I know if you have that container that you're drinking out of, you can get clear sheets that not magnetic on one side, but glue on one side that you can stick onto. So say my cup here, okay, I could put print this off on this sheet, clear sheet, and put like love and hope and gratitude. Stick them on my container so that and put that positive intent there, and it's automatically that you're getting that. So if you have a water container at home,
No.
do that yourself.
No.
Just write love
I want
on
to
that
add
container.
I want to add something to that, and just a thought.
Okay.
I think it'd be more effective if it was a clear glass than if it was a container like steel, because I think it may have to be able to flow through that. I may be wrong. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it'll go through whatever container is in it.
It does energy flow through everything, Andy? Does it throw through the copper pipes? So if you have your house, you have copper pipes, can you put that on your copper pipes? Yeah, sure. And okay, here, I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see this, but there you go. Love, charity, hope.
Right, but it's clear. It's a clear one, not a copper one that doesn't show.
Well, this is etched as well, not.
But that still goes through it. See, that's all I'm saying is I don't really know, because if I was to put love on here, I'm not really sure that it would get to the water past the copper shield.
Well, Andy, it's all intent and it's all the messaging. Like you have your magnetics. How is that energy flowing through that metal container?
The magnetism does flow through the air and it comes out. The different thing that light flowing.
It's the positive intent of the words that you're putting on
you can
there.
Look at it that way. In that case, you don't even have to write it. You just think love and it flows through.
Well, but how often do you think that when you're just grabbing your glass and taking a chug? It
helps with the intention, right? It helps with the intention to say, okay, love, or you're drinking it, right? Yeah. And that's probably why it would work, because you have it out there. As soon as you touch it, you're going to start thinking whatever it is you wrote out there.
And if you see it, not even recognizing it, but in your subconscious, the word love pops up, and I'm in a loving energy.
It's already happening. Exactly right. Right. That's why it's very important. That's why it's really cool, because all you have to do is see it. You don't even have to think about it, because your brain is not going to say, "Oh, do you mind about?" No, it's just going to put out that energy right off the bat. That's why.
Okay, here's I used to, I was there. Have always been into psychology, sociology, etc.
Yeah.
In my one chorus, I wrote, in little tiny letters at the very top of the, blackboard. This is back in high school. I put yawn, YAWN.
And they would start yawning.
And I sat facing the classroom. Everybody in the class was yawning. You couldn't read that.
Yeah,
from less than a foot away. You couldn't make it out.
You didn't have to.
Everybody in the class was yawning.
So when I do gem elixirs, I tend to do. When I do music, my music has a frequency in it. So when I started doing that, you can hear it, right? And people didn't like it. So I realized they didn't have to actually hear it or see it to get it. So I get it at some low level, so low you don't hear it at all. But your body is definitely getting, and it's much more effective, because people will say, but if they're something about this I like, it's a whole different ball game. And so that just proves that our mind is so powerful, that our consciousness is so powerful. What we think, it's just as real as the words.
Yes, and I have to bring this one up. Serena, I love your joke, Serena. Why can't you leave a banana in the sun? Because you will make the banana peel. Okay. Thanks, Serena. I really appreciate Serena coming on, every week and helping to share joy and happiness in her jokes. So that's one of the things, guys. Stay on the live chat so that you can see this stuff that Serena puts out, But I also want to put out here Lily's thing of words of power. Every word has power to it. So keep positive energy words.
So one of the things that I've learned about words having power, especially, for healing, that's another story too, self-development. But for growing things, so when you talk to a plant, hi there, what's going on? Then you have a connection going on, whether you want to understand it or not. My words channel certain energy to that plant. Grow, be happy. Don't worry, I'm not going to eat you yet. That's another story when you're growing vegetables. You mind if I eat you? I'm going to have to kill you right now. Oh, no. But that's another story you get into. I've always had that problem, see, when I became a vegetarian, because I didn't like killing things. But vegetables, you got to kill them to eat them. And I figured one day, there's nothing I can do. I'm always, even walking, I'm killing things. I'm trying to not to walk on the ants. Oh my God, sorry. It's like, so even breathing. I discovered that breathing in and breathing out, we're killing all kinds of things in the air.
Yeah. Well, consider, Andy, every cell that makes up that plant is full of biology that created that cell. So and it doesn't matter if it's a cell of an animal or of a plant, when you're consuming that, you're killing everything that's in there. But are you killing it, or are you changing it, putting it into your stomach, and it's being used like Mother Nature would do? So is there any actual death there?
So from that point of view, I can go kill a cow, and I'm doing the same thing.
Exactly. So whether you're a vegetarian.
Okay, I'm gonna have some beef tonight. I'll be back. I'll go give me a hamburger. No, it's fine, but you also have to understand that cow would tell me, "Oh, I got that," and I don't quite get that from the plant. The plant says, "Okay, fine."
But get back to intention, Andy. And when you eat, are you thanking the plant that you're eating? Are you thanking the animal that you're eating? There's the intent of joy and happiness.
And that's the whole thing. And to me, if I lived on a farm, I would go to the cow. Look, today's your day. I'm going to kill you. I appreciate you living here. I'm going to do it very peacefully for you, but I'm going to eat you. My family's going to eat you. The intent is completely different than going to the store and buying something that was tortured to death for me to eat.
Well, here's some torturing here. What do you call a twitching cow? Beef jerky.
Oh, God, stop it.
I love that one, Serena.
She must have a book there. Let's look at this one here, because she can't remember all these things. She's going to start.
She comes up with this stuff in her head now.
You should write a book and publish it. Yeah. So what are we talking about next week? I forgot. I didn't bring my phone with me.
I don't know. I'd have to look at my list, which is way over there, and then I'd have to get really close to the camera to get it.
So guys, look, if you haven't done it already, I have a whole bunch of ebooks I give away, and the easiest way to do it, you go to the website, you sign up for the newsletter. There's a button that says "click here for your ebook." You can say, "I want the natural pest control book," or you can. There's 4 or 5 of them. There's the Remineralization of the Earth, which has to do by Don Haymaker. I'm going to get him to come on someday. Remineralization, he shows you how Mother Nature remineralizes everything. There's the Bricks book, which was written by another friend of mine who's dead now, but it's all about using a refractometer, a Rick's chart. There's my Don't Panic, It's Organic book. There's my Natural Pest Control book. These are all ebooks, right? And then there's a Don't Panic with Ants ebook, and I have a whole bunch of more, but I'm in the process of converting, updating them. And it's easier for me so when you get an email, I can just click it and send it right back to you with the ebook in there.
Yeah, and that's through the website, guys. So use the contact form in the website.
Right, and then I'm setting up some online workshops where we're doing all kinds of stuff. We're going to be covering this as well as more practical things: how to heal with trees, how to increase with soil biology, how to deal with all the different diseases, how to deal with ants, how to deal with gophers, and all these other things we're going to be covering in online workshops. And then, of course, I do virtual house calls. It means if you have a problem, I don't do marriage problems, but I'll do gardening problems, and I'm happy to help you out. If there's a virtual house call, click on it. It's free. All you got to do is mention this show.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just looking up what the ladies are talking about on Chiropractic is Sexy tomorrow. Looking up their title, what chiropractic care does and doesn't do, what you need to know. That's Chiropractic is Sexy tomorrow. That's their title. And I have around 300 to 600 or more.
He's crazy.
Riddles memorized.
Who does that?
My God.
Who does that, right? It's like I know you're an AI robot. You're one of those AI creatures, are you? You infiltrated us. Because I can't remember my name, let alone 600 jokes.
Oh, I'm not good at jokes, like really, really bad at them. But guys, for Monday with Leighton, We have an IPM specialist, an integrated pest management specialist coming on, Claude Robert from Anatis Bioprotection. So you guys are going to want to watch that on Monday. And of course, on Sunday, Dr. Paula Ruffin is back on for her show. I think it's her 6th or 7th in the series that she's been doing. And we're going to have Andy coming on with her here in a little while, maybe 5 or 6 weeks. I'm not sure. I have to connect Andy with Dr. Paula. And I know you guys are going to have a fantastic conversation as well.
Okay,
now,
see you next weekend.
What do you call a cow that has just had a baby decaffeinated? Okay. Serena, that's bad.
I know. It gets worse, doesn't it? And we laugh about it too. It's like, it wouldn't be the same without you, Serena. It wouldn't be the same. I have to write these things down myself.
So, guys, if you have the opportunity, join the channel, become a defender of the biology like Go Ahead Gardens is. Help support the channel, bringing this kind of content for you. And we will see you tomorrow on Chiropractic is Sexy with the Ladies. Bye, everybody.
Bye.